Only a handful of you know a secret I bear. The truth of it is, I've listened to some of you speak without you really being there. Friends and family, living celebrities, and historical figures too, all spoke in my ear one night, out of the blue. Everyone I had ever admired filled up my head on October 31st, 2017, when I dug the deepest rabbit hole anyone had ever seen. I went psychotic, and without medication, I am quixotic. Due to this, I believed you were all still my friends, even though we never made amends. There are patterns at play within psychosis. Let's see when you start to notice. Have you ever felt pain so severe that it seems impossible not to scream louder than you can even hear? That's what I felt, and how you treated me during it was below the belt. Ever been to a psych ward? You'd get really bored. All you can do is watch movies on end, and if you're lucky, you come out a friend to new people who are just like you. The neurotypical brain is just that, typical. Mine is divergent, and I'm not cynical, but none of you went to visit. I guess it's because none of you gave a shit. The Truman Show delusion enchanted me at first, and it was my delusions of grandeur that I was ashamed of the worst. I listened to voices that I thought were all of you, but it turned out that nothing they had to say was true. Some people think things should remain no questions asked, but psychosis is something I wish we had talked about in high school or even elementary class. No more secrets, no more lies. Being bipolar doesn't just mean you experience intense lows and highs. Don't tell me it's all in my head, unless you're willing to admit your brain is neither real nor valid either. Did you know there are receptors for pain within the brain? Did you also know they don't scan brains like mine, yet they claim to know it's overloaded with dopamine? What I experience inside of my head is not fictional, because it originated there instead of before my eyes. Think about it. You've been fed lies. The world within is as real as the world around you. But how can you even prove that you're real? Is it because you can feel? Where is the soul? I've heard it in jazz music. Is it in sound? Or is it because your heart can pound? How do you prove that you exist to a solipsist? By the way, those thinkers think they're completely alone and that everyone else is essentially some sort of drone. If solipsists gather for meetings, do they argue over who truly exists, or is it an internal battle they try to dismiss? Well, they finally budge. You can exist, but you exist less than me, and then the highest on the hierarchy declares some decree to prioritize the people in power. Things like this boggled my brain at the 11th hour of October 31st, 2017. My grandfather served and retired in the United States military. I'm not trying to be scary. I am proud to be an American, but I know we're not all free. If that were the case, my rights wouldn't have been taken away from me. I did not commit a crime. I am not a criminal. Any damage I've done on my record has been minimal. The trial for court-ordered treatment occurred, and then my right to choose my doctor, my medicine, and my rights to bear arms were deferred. I've been labeled as SMI, severely mentally ill. At first, it was a tough pill to swallow, and due to court-ordered treatment, I could not choose which treatment plan to follow. That meant I was forced to take drugs, a lot of them, for 2 years straight. And thanks to one, I couldn't bear the weight of life or anything like it. The voices vanished along with the delusions and psychosis, and the magician's magical act. I gained a new diagnosis. Every thought I ever had left my brain, and every emotion I once felt circled down the drain. I was severely cognitively dulled due to the prescription. And if this has not pulled in your attention, I know I must mention I had no choice or freedom in this. If I were to resist medication during the 2 years of my court-ordered treatment, I would have been restrained and injected due to men who only suspected I was mentally ill. Now, isn't that a big pill? If you will, consider what I just said instead of allowing it to go over your head. Before ever being diagnosed as mentally ill by a doctor, I was restrained and labeled as dangerous after attempting to open an exit door because I thoroughly believed in a delusion that I would find Spain. Allow me to explain. I figured out that I could not leave the mental health facility voluntarily, despite checking in myself voluntarily. I wasn't trying to escape. I accepted my fate because a friend like you led me out of the gate to my apartment and into the facility in order to demonstrate that there is such a thing as synchronicity. Much like these rhymes connect my words, there are neurons that fire which completely control our worlds. We are all either on the same page with reality, or we're forced to be on the same page inside of a cage. When I was psychotic, I brought no harm to anyone. All I wanted to do was save the world and have fun. I mean this, I do, but I'm terrified you think what I say isn't true. No doctor had evaluated nor diagnosed me with a mental illness before I was drugged 4 times in my ass. It didn't matter that I wanted to pass. Some will argue I broke a rule. I tried to open the exit door. Need I say more? I remember the only marked exit door within the small facility was locked. That or something on the other side of it kept it blocked. But that didn't seem right, so I turned around, confused as to why a door that American citizens should always have the right to access was refused, as if to say that those who are mentally ill cannot have any hope in determining an emergency necessary for evacuation. Call it that, or intimidation. After I tried to open the door, we skipped the jury and went straight to my conviction. 2 big men came barreling toward me. I was less than 100 pounds and 5'7" at the time. And the way one of the men looked at me convinced me that I had committed a crime. The anger as he grabbed me by my arms astounded even him. And after they drugged me, he apologized to me as if on a whim. I'll never forget what he said. "I'm sorry, but I just get like that sometimes." And then he walked away because I had nothing to say. You wake up each day and the neurons that fire tell you to remain content. But I promise your heart may grow to resent itself the longer this issue remains ignored. More and more people will become ever so bored with the presentation of reality. And down the tree of life's rabbit hole they'll go, one by one, until they've drugged us all into a state of conformity, until the enormity of our citizens begin to recognize the power in believing in what our eyes cannot see. After all, that's what happened to me when I decided to follow a voice like yours through closed doors, much like you have followed mine, to prepare you for the next sign or clue in this conundrum we call life, until we're dead and blue.